Delilah checked her reflection using her phone screen. No lipstick smeared across her face like a ghastly nightmare clown? Check. She tugged her bra straight. No unintentional flashing? Check. She adjusted her pants. No surprise period bleed through her jeans? Check. Finally, she cupped her palm around her mouth, smelling her breath. Not great. Possibly even destructively foul-smelling. Drastic measures were required. Delilah dropped her backpack onto a row of auditorium seats before emptying it out in search of breath mints. She shoved 7 into her mouth and chewed frantically. Even as she was doing it, she knew it was a huge mistake. There were already a dozen students milling around the school auditorium, waiting for their auditions. Within seconds, Mrs. Hirsch walked out from the wings onto the stage and called, "Delilah Thorne?" Inevitably, she started choking. She spat the mints out into her hand and stared in horror at the mass of moist goo in her palm. Delilah's bag was usually full of half-crumpled Kleenex, but now she couldn't find a single one. A tissue. Her life for a tissue. Was this the 7th circle of hell? The drama teacher frowned down at her call sheet, adjusting a pair of hipsterish glasses. A rumor had gone around school last year that Mrs. Hirsch's son had run off with his stepsister. Delilah had tried to track down the supposed elopers on Facebook through a network of alumni groups, but she'd never managed to find any actual proof. "Delilah Thorne?" Mrs. Hirsch said again, uncertainly now. Oh, God. Could she fail the audition by making the director uncertain? "Here!" she called, hoping that there wasn't slobber on her chin. At least her breath would smell uber nice. The entire room full of students turned to gawk at her. Desperation deepening into sheer fear, Delilah shoved the damp mints into her pocket, then rubbed her hand against the fabric to wipe away the spit as she made her way to the stage. "Nice to meet you, Delilah." Mrs. Hirsch held out her hand. Delilah's own palm stuck to her jeans with sticky, sugary paste. She clenched her fist. "I don't shake hands for health and safety reasons," she blurted out, then bent her neck forward in an inexplicable bow instead. The teacher gaped at her. So did everyone watching. Which, honestly, yeah, understandable. "All right. You're auditioning for Tiffany, yes?" "Yes, ma'am," Delilah said, dying inside. "Shall I venture onto the stage?" Why? What? Venture? Her lizard brain was doing a horrifying job of taking the lead while she floundered. Delilah was going to become a dropout, a washed-up, forgotten nobody. Was Mrs. Hirsch immune to bribery? She had the rest of those mints. "Go ahead, and try not to stress. This is all really low-key. Sawyer, you're up as King Arthur, right?" Mrs. Hirsch asked, as she sat down next to 3 intense-looking seniors in blazers who were all watching Delilah expectantly. "Yep." A senior guy from the grade above, presumably Sawyer, hopped onto the stage. Her underboobs were sweaty. Was her breathing audible to everyone or just her? "Hi," she said to him. "Was that a question?" He tilted his head sideways. God, he was so cute. His dark hair was cropped tight to his scalp, with a curly flop of hair twisting down over his forehead. "Ready whenever you are," Mrs. Hirsch called. A girl whispered something to her friend, who giggled. It did absolute wonders for Delilah's nerves. She tried to ignore them and slip into acting mode. Positive affirmations. That was what was needed here. "Hast thou heard the news from Camelot, my lady?" Sawyer spoke King Arthur's first lines of the scene.